You know why? This is the only place I know that any scumbag in the world can get into paradise.
It's pretty cool, isn't it, right?
A futuristic resort named Vice provides its guests the chance to indulge in all their fantasies, regardless of how violent or deviant, using advanced androids known as artificials. Each day, the androids' memories are wiped, and any damage they incur is scheduled for repair. To preserve the illusion of reality, the androids are programmed to exhibit behaviors such as emotions and believe they are human. The movie begins with Detective Roy Tedeschi parked outside Vice awaiting a warrant from the station to apprehend a man named Ryan Hollister for rape and murder. Once the warrant is approved, Tedeschi enters the building and proceeds towards the criminal. Meanwhile, Kelly, a gynoid bartender, awakens in her bed where her friend Melissa, also a gynoid, has prepared breakfast for her. Kelly believes she's on her last day of work and tells Melissa about a dream she had. She sketches a church from her dream. They share a toast to new beginnings. Later that night, while walking, a Vice guest approaches them and tries to flirt, but they brush him off. The man says he'll see them later and leaves. Meanwhile, Tedeschi continues his search for Ryan and finds a nightclub on the other side of the building. An artificial woman points him in the criminal's direction. Tedeschi breaks into Ryan's room, finding him sexually assaulting one of the artificials. Ryan attempts to shoot Tedeschi, but doesn't realize the gun only works on the artificials. Tedeschi quickly subdues him and cuffs him. The artificial woman, tied to the bed and pleading for help, says she just wants to go home to her daughter, but Tedeschi knows it's not real. Nonetheless, he cuts the rope and frees her. Back to Kelly, allegedly working her last night bartending, is approached by Melissa, who suggests they celebrate with shots. A friendly guest named Evan sits at the bar and requests a drink. They make small talk, and Kelly tells him it's her last night on the job. When Kelly expresses fear about venturing out and doubting her bravery, Evan reassures her that being brave doesn't mean she's not afraid and encourages her to follow her dreams. Melissa calls Kelly, who invites Evan to join them for a drink, but he declines politely. The girls do a few more shots, close up the bar, and go for another walk when they encounter the man from earlier. The man ruthlessly shoots Melissa and kills her. He then attacks Kelly and begins choking her. She calls for help, but no one responds. The man continues to suffocate her, and Kelly dies moments later. Meanwhile, the COO of Vice, Julian Michaels, watches the scene via security cameras and orders Reiner, the lead engineer of Vice, to have Kelly and Melissa reactivated and back in service by the following night, as important clients are scheduled to arrive. Later, Reiner reactivates Kelly, and she opens her eyes, startling his assistant. The assistant comments on Kelly's realism, and Reiner explains that their flesh, skin, and most internal organs are real, made from genetically cloned human tissue. Reiner then states how she's programmed to believe it's her last night before she leaves to pursue her dreams, keeping her in a celebratory mood for the clients. He reveals that artificials wear an identity bracelet to distinguish them from clients and to erase their memory every 24 hours, maintaining a continuous loop. The next morning, Kelly wakes up as before, with Melissa there and the same line repeated. Meanwhile, Tedeschi's captain orders him to stay away from Vice and only arrest its patrons after they leave, as Vice provides substantial tax revenue for the city. The captain mentions it's not Tedeschi's first issue with Vice and questions his obsession with the place. Tedeschi argues that Vice's guests become desensitized to violence and rape, carrying these behaviors into the real world, pointing to the man he arrested as evidence, and suspects his department is taking bribes from the resort. Tedeschi storms out, vowing to stop Vice. That night, like the previous one, Kelly and Melissa are drinking when Kelly starts experiencing flashbacks of the previous night. A security alert is triggered in the control room, and Michaels is informed of Kelly's irregular cortical activity. Michaels orders a reboot, but Kelly doesn't receive the command, so they take her back to the lab while she continues to have flashbacks, including one involving Evan. In the lab, they strap her in, and Reiner begins the reboot process. Reiner explains that her memories cannot be truly deleted, only made inaccessible. To stop the flashbacks, he must bring all her memories to the forefront and erase them one by one. Traumatized by reliving all her deaths and assaults, Kelly breaks free of her restraints before her memories can be reset. Reiner tries to stop her, but she pushes him into an electrical device, knocking him out. Kelly escapes the lab and flees the building with security in pursuit. She narrowly escapes into the city. Michaels orders a security team, led by Chris, to discreetly reacquire her by any means necessary. Michaels plans to expand the use of artificials to military and commercial sectors once they become more socially acceptable. To cover up the escape, he blames the resort's brief shutdown on a terrorist attack. Tedeschi grows suspicious and confronts Michaels about the incident, but Michaels reveals nothing. Kelly, meanwhile, enters a bar and orders a drink. A man beside her offers to pay, hoping to score later. Kelly's attention is drawn to a news report about Vice, where Michaels announces the resort will reopen in 24 hours. Soon after, Kelly exits the bar, followed by the man. She tells him she's not interested, but he persists and begins forcing himself on her. Suddenly, Chris arrives with the security team and tries convincing her to come with him. Kelly is confused as she doesn't know who he is, and is even more perplexed when he says the people around them are not like them. The man from the bar is not having it and attempts to stab Chris, but his guards swiftly neutralize him. Taking advantage of the distraction, Kelly flees. They catch up to her in their vehicle and continue the chase on foot when Kelly enters an abandoned building. She quickly runs and hides behind cover, while Chris slowly advances, searching for her. Chris once again asks her to come with him, assuring her safety, but Kelly remains silent. Chris counts to 5, and when she doesn't come out, he orders his men to fire their guns everywhere to scare her out of hiding. Shortly after, he commands them to hold fire and waits for her to run, which she does. The chase continues until Kelly jumps, crashes on top of a car, and escapes. Tedeschi is assigned to a homicide apparently committed by professional mercenaries. Detective Matthews states that these mercenaries have the latest military hardware and the shell casings are untraceable. Shortly after, Tedeschi learns from a bartender that the victim followed a girl out of the bar just before the incident. The description matches a woman in her early 20s with blonde hair. Unbeknownst to Tedeschi or his captain, this is Chris's work as he tries to recapture Kelly and will eliminate anyone who gets in his way. After evading Chris, Kelly visits an abandoned church she has seen and sketched in her dreams. There, she meets Evan, whom Kelly claims to recognize. Evan says he's an old friend and tells her they don't have much time. He removes the bracelet from her arm, explaining that this is how they track her. He further explains that all artificials have them installed, but are programmed not to see them. Evan then takes her to a room where she sees a picture of a woman who resembles her. Evan says that the woman was his wife, who died of an unknown disease. When Kelly asks why the woman looks like her, Evan finally reveals himself to be her creator. Meanwhile, Tedeschi is at the police station reviewing surveillance footage from the exterior of Vice to determine what happened the night Kelly escaped. Surprisingly, a portion of the footage is missing, clearly deleted by Vice. Shortly after, the captain confronts Tedeschi for questioning Michaels without station approval. The captain reminds him of his assignment on the homicide case and warns him that he will lose his badge if he continues to act this way. Matthews discovers that the DNA traces left at the crime scene belong to Evan's deceased wife. He informs Tedeschi and provides him with Evan's last known address, which turns out to be the church. Back at the church, Evan explains how Vice got started. When they first introduced the technology, people panicked as it was too real, leading to a law banning all AI from living in the real world. Evan says he started building Kelly as a personal project, creating her in the image of his deceased wife to spend more time with her. Michaels managed to obtain a special license to operate artificials within the strictly controlled confines of Vice. When Evan learned of Michaels' plans, he tried to shut it down, But Michaels, having a controlling interest in the company, seized everything, including Kelly. Michaels discovers Kelly's location using her sketch of the church and sends his men there. Evan promises to help Kelly, but before they can leave, Tedeschi arrives. As Tedeschi attempts to arrest Evan, Kelly knocks him unconscious. Vice's security team also arrives at the church. Evan and Kelly escape as Tedeschi and the security team engage in a firefight. Tedeschi takes out all the guards. Upon learning that his men at the church were eliminated, Michaels devises another way to track Kelly: microwave emissions. When artificials process fuel, they emit a tiny but detectable amount of microwave radiation. He orders a team to track her and monitor Tedeschi as well. The police arrive at the church and Tedeschi investigates Evan's true identity, discovering that he is a biomechanical engineer who once worked for a robotics firm acquired by Michaels. Evan's friend James, a computer hacker, provides them with new identities and a way out of the city. James also offers Kelly an upgrade to possess advanced combat skills, but she declines. Before they can escape, Vice's security tracks them down, as does Tedeschi. Unfortunately, Evan dies protecting Kelly from more of Vice's thugs. Tedeschi once again eliminates Vice's security and gives Kelly two options: escape the city without him stopping her, or stay and help him take down Vice once and for all. Kelly chooses the second option, and they visit James for assistance. He gives them a virus programmed to restore the android's erased memories, leading to chaos and the closure of Vice. Kelly accepts James's offer to be upgraded. After a makeover, the duo infiltrates Vice, posing as a married couple. Kelly tracks down Michaels, but fail-safe programming prevents her from harming him. However, after Kelly is captured, Tedeschi forces a tech to load the virus. All of Vice's artificials have their memories restored, and they start a rebellion, killing the guests who previously brutalized them. Kelly reveals that, despite wanting to kill Michaels, she is a decoy to distract him and his guards for Tedeschi, already aware of the fail-safe programming. Ignoring Kelly's taunting, Michaels engages in a gunfight with Tedeschi, resulting in Chris's death. Kelly frees herself and hands Chris's pistol to Tedeschi, who then uses it to kill Michaels. As Kelly and Melissa embrace outside the resort, Tedeschi says, "Welcome to the real world." The movie ends as Michael's eyes suddenly open.